This segment of CoastLife is sponsored by the Parker Group.
Well, when it comes to thinking about your overall health, a lot of that can include mind as well as body. And sometimes, it can come along with these extensive physical workout plans, but it can also be as simple as the layout of your home. So we brought in Rachel Parker with the Parker Group to talk a little bit on this when it comes to, I guess you could call it a design trend, but more than anything, it also is meant to nurture your mental and somewhat your physical health as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in general as society, we're a lot more attuned to just the little details of how to optimize our health. And so this industry is actually called wellness real estate. There's a name for it now. And it's projected to be a $500 billion industry this year, which means that it's doubled in the past couple years. And I think when you think about influencers that have podcasts and that are talking about, cold plunges and your circadian rhythm and stuff like that, it totally makes sense that this would transform into where you're spending most of your time inside of your home.
Absolutely. I think too is, more people, especially on the younger end of your home buyers, they're staying in a lot more. They're not going out as much because, you spent all this money on a home that you're like, well, I want to stay here.
And you can't afford to go out.
And on top of that, you can't afford to go out as much. So I think lots of people have decided to make their home that little oasis, that peaceful place that when you come home to, everything stops, everything slows down. And I think what you said was really interesting before we got started here was that this started as a commercial real estate train of thought.
Yeah, and that happens a lot where commercial, huge scale developers are just running a lot more tests. They have a lot more regulation and standardization across the industry. And so what they found is that in an office setting, and it makes total sense as a business owner, I can relate, that your employee productivity, having happy, healthy, productive employees is the most important thing about your space.
Imagine that.
Right, I know, go figure. And so, if you think about it as a business owner, you're spending maybe, less than 30% of your operating costs on rent, but you're probably spending 50, 60, maybe 90% on employee salaries. And so it's really important to design a space that people are happy to come to, that they feel healthy in, and then ultimately, makes them feel healthier and more productive. And so the really cool thing for us now on the real estate side is looking at how this is now translating into home design, which to me is even more important because this is where you're sleeping, where you're spending most of your time, where you're spending time with your children, your pets. And so it's just really neat to see these trends translate from that commercial sector into our homes.
Yeah. So what are some of the trends maybe that we're seeing within homes? I know if you spend any time on social media and you're a millennial, we're getting dragged for millennial gray and that sterile hospital feeling in your home. So what are people maybe incorporating to kind of expand that mental health space into their home design?
Such a great question. And it really spans a lot of things, not just the design, the look of your home. And in that sense, it's a lot of kind of what you might expect, natural light, letting a lot of natural light in, and really even orienting the design of your home to optimize for natural light coming in at the proper time. So in your bedroom, making sure that in the morning you're getting natural light. I think we've all heard for your circadian rhythm how important that is. But even going beyond that to putting lighting fixtures in that mimic circadian rhythm as well. And so lighting that is just optimizing to make sure that you get restful sleep. So maybe it's toning down at the end of the night, brightening up to wake you up in the morning. Noise pollution, so having really good insulation and noise buffering so that you do feel peaceful when you're inside of your house. And then it goes even into literally health related things. So really high quality water purification systems, really high quality air purification systems. And what's funny is a lot of this, I think, as everything kind of does, but comes out of the pandemic where people became a lot more mindful of air pollutants inside. But I think it's a really great outcome of that. That's not fear-based. It's really about optimizing your health so that you feel the best that you possibly can feel every day when you wake up in your home.
Absolutely. And I think that noise pollution one is one that it gets really overlooked a lot. I live in a noisy space, we're near a busy road. You hear car sounds, especially when Bike Week comes by, you're always hearing the and you're like, oh my God. But then when I stay somewhere like a friend or family member's house and it's so quiet and we're like, you can't just open the windows and hear the crickets. And you're like, I'm like, this is amazing.
But it's so
But
true.
It makes a difference and a noticeable one.
Yeah, and sometimes when you become kind of blind to that noise, so to speak, in the background, your brain is still working overtime to process all of that all the time. And so when you can just turn it off. And so and then the last piece of it is really marrying that indoor and outdoor feel. And I think we all know at this point how much our mental health is connected to nature and just how good it is for us to be connected to green spaces and just to get fresh air. It's funny to me, I used to work in the building industry and at that time, gosh, probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago now, it was all about like the densest possible insulation and sealing things off as much as possible. And I think now we're seeing a little bit of a swing back where it's like, let's filter in some fresh air though too and get a little bit more connected to the outside world and not totally seal it off. So it is kind of, that balance there. But at the end of the day, I think this is just a really cool trend of just like one more way that we can optimize for health, longevity, and just feeling our best in our homes.
And I think especially one that doesn't necessarily have to cost a lot of money to achieve, So it could be as simple as rearranging a little something in around in your house and, opening the windows on the days where it's not so hot or it's not so cold is one of my favorite things about, the transitional seasons and months like those fall, spring, when you can first open that window and let fresh air in and I'm like, oh, I'm a whole new person.
It just feels so good. You're right. It really does. Yes.
Well, Rachel, thank you for coming in and giving us some little tips and tricks on how people can maybe add a little bit of wellness with wellness real estate to their own spaces.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Coming up on CoastLife, though, if you are going to open your heart to your home, perhaps a little senior pup might just be the perfect fit to make your family complete. We've got our pet of the week on the way.